Hi, this is Phil from PDQ Merchant Enterprise and the ATM Mastermind group page, and we're here today to talk about when should I buy used ATM, or if in fact should I buy used ATMs. So 15 years ago, I started with Tidal ATMs, and we were operating IS-2000s, IS-1000s, and then IS-3000. And what happened is Tidal was actually going through a merger, and they were acquired by NCR. And so I was faced to make a decision, which way did I want to go? At the time, what was left, or my choices that I was aware of, was either Tranex or Triton. Now, some of my competitors were using the Triton machine, very good machine. So I said, okay, I'm going to go with the Tranex machine. And at that time, it really wasn't a Tranex ATM. It was a Nautilus Yosung ATM called the 1500, but was rebranded for a Tranex ATM. Didn't really know that, but that's what later came to fruition. So we started buying the 1500, and it was a very good machine, workhorse of the industry. I think today, even to this day, there's still some out there, and they're very good ATM. And so we would buy one after another. And they were maybe at the time, and I don't remember the exact cost, but ATMs were more back then, so maybe about $3,000 for that type of ATM. And they were brand new. And then I was faced with a decision. There was a guy that I knew, and he said, hey, I have a Triton ATM, 9600, and would you like to buy that? I said, oh, what is it? And he said, it's about $800. $800, wow, it's a big savings. I was very excited about that. Gonna save a couple $1,000s, and I was gonna put that on our route. Well, what happened is he sold me the ATM, and then we went to program it, and we couldn't get into the master keys. We couldn't get into the software that allowed us to program the ATM. So I called him. He says, I don't know. Okay. Now then I called Triton, and Triton said, well, who are you and what is this in regards to? And back then, Triton and the manufacturers, they were very guarded on their information. They wanted to know who you were you certified with them, were you distributed them, did you sell their product? Who are you and why are we talking to you? And they really wouldn't help you out. That's just their philosophy back then. Very good companies now, but back in the day, they kept all their information tight to the vest, as we would call it. So it took a little getting to know somebody on the phone and worked our magic. And finally, we got to the point where, okay, what you need to do is they said, you got to send the board in to us. We'll blow out the information and we'll send it back to you. Okay, so that took me about 3 weeks to get all that. Then we had to send it out, and it was in California, send out the information, get that taken care of, and then send it back. And then we were able to process that ATM. But it took a long time. And so one of the things that I learned is you want to stay with what you know. We went off the reservation at this particular time. We invested in another manufacturer that we weren't familiar with, and we had some of those challenges. Had I known what those challenges were in the beginning, we could either avoid them, or by staying with the original manufacturer that we chose, or we would have known how to shortcut some of that process. So 3 things that you want to do to really stay in your lane and make you the best ATM operator that you need to be, and when to buy a used ATM. So point number 1 is stay with new. When you're starting in the business, don't go out and buy a used ATM. You're not going to know what the challenges are with that brand or that manufacturer ATM. So what you want to do is you want to start with new. So right now, if you're a Gen Mega person, that's maybe the 2500 or the Onyx, or if you're with Nautilus Yosung, that would be the Halo 2, or one of the other manufacturers, Triton or Plume, the brand of choice with those 2 manufacturers. You just want to start with that brand, and you want to become a master in that brand until you get to the point where, okay, I can expand my knowledge of that particular brand. So point number 2 is you want to stay with that particular model, okay? Which means is if you're buying new of, let's call it the Halo 2, we were on pretty much a Nautilus Yosung company. Just by the example that I told you, just kind of fell into it. But so we came up through the generations. But what you want to do is you want to stay with the model that you started out with. So let's say right now, if you just got into the business, what you want to do is, and say you decided to go to Knowledge Yosung, you want to stay with the Halo 2. So once you master the Halo 2 and you're very familiar with the Halo 2, and then there might become an opportunity where you can buy a used Halo 2. So we suggest you would buy, if you don't buy a brand new Halo 2, then you would buy a used Halo 2. Same thing with Gen Mega. Maybe you had a 2500, so you have an opportunity to buy a 2500 used, then you can buy that used 2500. You're gonna learn the ebbs and flows of the manufacturer, and you're gonna learn what some of the challenges are with with that particular model. Now, every manufacturer, even though, I mean, they're really great, they work hard, they're engineers, but from time to time, over wear and tear, over lifetime, things wear out a little bit faster than other things, and you're going to understand what those things are, and you're going to know how to minimize your downtime and maximize your profit. So point number 3 is stay with the generation that you started with. So if you started with the Halo 1, which is Knowledge Yosung, you can go, then you were Halo 1 person, Halo 2 came out, so now you buy the Halo 2. You can go back and you can buy the Halo 1, a used Halo 1, or a used Halo 2, because you've been through the war. You know what the challenges are with each one. It's very hard to go back 2, 3, 4 generations and expect to be a guru in that space. You're going to run into all kinds of challenges. So some of the challenges, and I'll just give you an example. Some of the challenges, so if you're a Halo 2 person and you know all about the Halo 2, and then you saw, oh, I can buy a 1500 for $200, like, great, that's a great savings. I understand it, it's going to be great. Maybe I'd save $2,000 or more in this situation. Then you buy it, this $200 1500 on Knowledge Yosung, and you get it, and you know what? You realize it's not a $1,500 Yosung, it's a $1,500 Tranix. And on maybe when you bought it off the internet, it looks like a Knowledge Yosung, but in fact it's a Tranix, and it's not even the upgrade. So now I gotta buy a kit. What's the kit? Okay, it's $900. Maybe I can find a little cheaper, but $900. How do I put it in? Now you gotta install that into a $200 ATM. You're at $1,100. And that's if it will work. Most of the time, if you're gonna go from try to install a kit into a Tranix machine, it won't work, okay? So now you got this challenge. Okay, same thing if you would have bought an 1800, the 1800 CEs and SEs, there was challenges that arose. The I/O boards start to go out in those older models, and it's because the card reader and the other components in there were pulling on the I/O board, and they were draining the I/O board, and it caused a voltage issue. So what Knowledge Yosung did is they came up with a harness to eliminate that challenge, and so they keep the components running. But you wouldn't know that if you were just going to go back to buy the 1800 now. And so you would buy the 1800, you would save some money, and then what would happen is your keypad would go out. Maybe that's $300 to $600, or maybe your I/O board would go out, or something would go out, causing downtime. You think you're saving money, but you're really not, because now you have downtime and you have a bunch of headaches that you weren't ready to experience. What my suggestion is always is to stay with the generation that you started with, and you can always go up. You can always buy used of that generation until the next generation comes out, and you can buy used in the same generation you started with. That's always the best formula for success. Some of the challenges that I mentioned, we have an actual ATM mastermind group that people just like you talk about their challenges in the industry, what they're facing, and there's resolution from not only me, but other people in the group. So I highly encourage you to join the ATM mastermind group. It doesn't cost you anything to be in a like-minded community of other ATM operators. Hope these tips are helpful. Again, my name is Phil from PDQ Merchant Enterprises and the ATM Mastermind group page. Don't forget to like and subscribe our YouTube channel and join our group page. It's free.